Good evening, everyone. Everyone here, everyone there, everyone in between. Thank you very much. Before we begin the teachings, as usual, we will tune up our motor of motivation in reading, listening, being here together, not just for tonight or for now, for a few weeks or for me or for my body, but rather for a very long time and in the future for the benefit of many others, that this Dhamma was taught with the first reason to benefit. Some 2,600 years ago, we ourselves also being part of it may extend it further by being here, listening and reflecting on these teachings, whether it is refreshing you on previously known subjects or elucidating and clarifying or knowing some new topics and subjects that goes to boost our realization of the teachings. So with this intent, we recite the chantings of refuge for immeasurables appropriately. Oyenda Buddha Dharma Sangha Aitere Ladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ashare Vadavaduvebe Endabo Dharma Sangha Aitere Ladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ashare Vadavaduvebe Endabo Dharma Sangha Aitere Ladam Bhavaja Ajendala Ashare Vadavaduvebe. May all beings have happiness, a cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, though never. According to the intelligence and predisposition of the Dharma agrelo and common goals. So in this term we are studying, reading through the very ancient work, 700 years ago. A very famous Tibetan scholar by the name of Buton Rinchen Drub wrote a History of Buddhism in India and Tibet. So this book has been translated in the 1920s by some Russian scholars using the kind of terms they thought was the relevant according to the understanding they have. Now it is nearly 100 years left after. Of course, that text looks a little bit old and still waiting to see the light of better translations. So while that is still in the pipeline, we have attempted to read. And I found the reading of the translation a little bit Not easy because of the very terms that Obermiller used. So we tried that last two sessions, but tonight onwards I will go and try translate directly from the text as far as I think it's the best way to go about. Anyway, what we covered, the history of Buddhism, firstly requires us to know what is the Buddhism. That requires to know of its history. So therefore here Buton Rinchen Drub takes the liberty to explain what the merit of studying the Dharma, general Dharma and specifically Mahayana Dharma, merits of listening and studying and teaching, be that history, be that philosophy, be that esoteric practices, be those what helps us. So we all are in many ways very much converted by the Dharma, reading and listening, that it has benefited us. So Obermiller has also translated to highlight the importance of study and teaching. Then last week we looked at the actual meaning of the Dharma, the word itself, etymology of the word, and the definition of the word, and then he started explaining the divisions of the Dharma. So we'll continue where we left last week. With the division of Dharma, he talked about the resultant Dharma, or practicing Dharma and teaching Dharma. Resulting Dharma is when people practice Dharma, what's the result that people will have is that they're able to know the nature of things as clearly as it says, and it helps us to eradicate the very problems and sufferings of life. There are no other things remedies. Like the ability to know that all that are accumulated are squandered. Usually we resist when things get down or things get depleted. Say a group of sangha becomes smaller in number, or your physical energy gets weaker, or your number of family members are no longer together as strong. Usually we think that's terrible, but that's the nature of things. So if you know the Dharma, the result is you will be able to accept these things, and it enables you to accept the inevitable. Everything that is accumulated will be squandered, and because everything is impermanent, and however strong empire, a system, a government, a group of people, a building, structure, bridges, mountains, even the planet Earth, how strong they are, and they all become dismantled, they all crumble. So, but yet when we don't understand the Dharma, we cannot accept the nature of that rise, all falls. All that met will be parted. Say you have become very close to some, and when the friendship didn't last, you think it's terrible. It's one or two people's mistake, that as if it was able to eternally keep harmoniously. It's not possible. Whoever comes together, they will part. Be that physical structure, be that intellectual harmony, ideas, all things will part eventually. So when things part, most people can't accept it. But those who know that Dharma has the result of accepting the partings in great grace and dignity. Say one of your kidney parts your whole body, for instance. We already know many people have only one kidney. Or you have one of your partner dies, and so you are alone. Maybe you are the widow, or you are the widower, or you are a child. You had child, but you become childless, and so on. Most people think that's terrible, but those who understand Dharma, they accept that's the reality. So Dharma gives you this kind of sense of result of being strong and not resist the inevitable. And all these are born will die. So if we accept those four impermanent things, that is the result of Dharma. Now, second is teaching Dharma. Teaching Dharma is the result that we have yield comes from the qualities of paying heed to the teachings, isn't it? I mean, that's why we are here. That we try to learn to let go when things fall apart. Instead of reacting to someone and blaming that they are responsible for this breakup, all that things, We still have that tendency not being able to, because the teaching Dharma hasn't sunk in. It just comes a little bit and then disappears. But if the practice Dharma that has taught us, then it will empower us to develop the qualities of resultant Dharma, to not resist with the inevitable, but accept the inevitable. It says the practice Dharma has four qualities. It will enable you to become sorrowless when those things happen. When inevitable things happen, you become sorrowless. Because you understand the things, you understand, so you're practicing the Dharma. You're not blaming yourself, or you're not blaming others. That's the nature of things. So you do not make sorrow. Because sorrow comes from attachment, ignorance, greed, and desiring the inevitable to be inevitable, try to stay strong. But when you practice the Dharma, you don't suffer. That's the first quality, sorrowless. But at the same time, the second quality is, while remaining in the town, city of samsara, you are not trying to run away from it, because the world is like that. But you try to be useful among those most soldiers who are falling away. You be the brave one. You be the brave one among those who are cowards. Those who are resisting, those who are mourning and craving and reacting and punishing each other, you just stay very resilient. Not only you are sorrowless, but you don't get discouraged by the sorrows of others. Yeah, this is very important, because a lot of the time we might have small thing going on, but someone collapses or gets some problem, and they discourage us, like we also become affected by the sorrow of them. So we must be very, very courageous, like a soldier who doesn't fall down. Yeah, and then we are unseverable. They say unseverable, meaning that because we are in the taste, in the act of in search of flavoring the taste of nirvana, we are immutable. We are unseverable by those difficulties. So we stay very strong and resilient, and we don't snap. That's the practice Dharma. Practice Dharma. Yeah? Practice Dharma. Practice Dharma, of course, may mean you sit maybe 2 hours in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, or maybe do some sort of religiously oriented chanting, prayer, meditating. They may look like the practice, but real practice is this relentlessness in you that may be boosted by your practice of study and listening too, but mainly that as a character has been reformed. And you are harmless. You cannot be harmed by desire by others, or even desire by yourself, or attachment by yourself. You may have still taints of attachment, taints of desire, but they don't really dent your morale. You still exists in this world by needing food, shelter, clothes, medicine, by the four necessities they call it. Food in the mouth, roof over the head, cloth on the back, and medicine to this injury. So these four you will resort to. These are not necessarily desired, it's just necessary survival. But beyond that, you are not harmed by excessive desire or excessive possession, or you're not. You have really deep degree of incredible contentment. Because of that, you are not harmed by poverty. You're not harmed by other things. Poverty is a more convenient cause of practice. The poverty of harm. Yeah. You actually are most comfortable in simplicity. You cannot be harmed by excessiveness or lack of it. And you're always tasting the flavor of elixir or the amazing honey of Dharma. Whether you're alone, whether you're studying, whether you are doing things, you always Dharma and its truthfulness is relishing you. Because of that, you are constantly on the path. That is practice of Dharma. How do you know practice Dharma? You're always remembering the truthfulness of Dharma, incredible quality of Buddhas, wisdom, compassion, and this joy of the flavor of the food of the Dharma. You're constantly relying on this abundance of inner wealth. That's the practice of Dharma. Practice Dharma is like that. Buddha is really putting this subject of the history of Buddhism, the Dharma itself, the history of which, then we say, wow, it is Nānanda, oh, it is Upali, oh, it is Nagarjuna, oh, it is the great Ashoka king, oh, it's the great Padmasambhava, oh, they're the one who made this beautiful delivery, this amazing Dharma flavor that we are relishing came from their relentless work of Dharma. Then we become very inspired. And that's the point of the history, So that's the practice Dharma. Now the third is the teaching Dharma. Teaching is the actual that which clarifies those how to walk on the path of the Dharma, to practice the Dharma. So they're actually the actual thing that teaches us to practice, and by practicing of which we experience the results. See, Buddha first talks of the result Dharma, and then the practice Dharma, and then the teaching Dharma. So it's actually other way around, isn't it? So therefore, if you have the teaching Dharma, then you practice the Dharma, then you experience the result. But Buddha incredibly first tried to inspire us by talking about the result of the Dharma teaching. And then he says, what is the practice of Dharma that makes you to achieve the result? And for that, he says, you need to really adhere to the teaching Dharma. That's the third. So that's what we're becoming. Teaching Dharma is that which shows you how to walk on the path. And this also has four qualities. First is this is the path. So you know that this is the way of the Dharma. Whether you think, speak, or form a view, or respond to something, you always try to say, oh, is this the way to respond to dharmically? Is this way to experience this, accept this or not accept this, or speak about this, speak not at all? You always try to see, am I on the path? So it tells you, because remember, teaching has taught you which is the path. And you need to make sure that that is the road on which you should be standing and walking. You shouldn't be on an alternative path. So you should always know, am I on the path? So you are always listening to your heart. That am I in the path of the Dharma? Because you listened, you read, you discussed Dharma. You have books, many books, and they all help you to stay on the path. So that's the that the teaching Dharma is that when you have heard, read, and discussed the teaching, it always checks you, oh, am I responding about this according to the path? Or is it my egotistical behavior getting in the way? So always listening to the heart, whether you are adhering to the Dharma, that is the path that has taught you. Yeah? This is the way, So oh, this is the way, and you ascertain it every now and then. You go and re-identify, revalidate the Dharma, and then you don't slip off the path that you nearly did. Then you realize, gosh, how come I'm distracting myself, slipping off this path, and then it re-ascertain or revalidate. Neprajimba means it gives you second time. If you give us some kind of certitude of the second time, you are not lingering in the doubt. If you are lingering in the doubt, you haven't really heard the Dharma. You're still listening to the doubt, wrong ways. But those on the path who have heard the teaching Dharma, and they keep coming back to the path, and thank goodness they rescue themselves. And they go and recognize the four foundation of mindfulness, for instance, mindfulness of the body, mindful so on, thought, feelings, and so on. And you know that I need to adhere to the path. And this therefore clarifies your accumulations of positive stores of merit, and it removes the obscuration, habits, bad views. All of these things get removed because showing the path teaches you where not to go, and showing the path on the torch on the path shows where to go, likewise, and then you can realize that the obscurations are three kinds. The afflictive obscuration, habitual obscuration, karmic obscuration, and the life obscurations. Yeah. Of these three, the affliction obscuration is more subtle, and the obscuration of habit is second, and the most grossest is life obscuration. It's my life, my job, or my health, or my way. People become me and my life. So these three are the obscurations. When you're on the path, teaches you how to negotiate with these three obscurations, because they are the obstacles on the path to remain on the path. And because of that, you're constantly armed with the broom of the Dharma. Armed with the broom of Dharma, try to sweep them as hygienically as you usually do with your well-being, and how clean you want to have your plate for dinner, like that. You want to make sure your plate of the mind is clean one. It is not covered in the soot or the dirt or the whatever. Will you ever eat in a dirty plate, for instance? But yet people are forming opinions in the obscuration of their afflictions, their karmic habits, and their life habits. They're not taking liberty to remove these three obscurations. Those on the Dharma, will be really diligent in order to remove these three obscurations of the plate of their life. So this is the mindfulness of thoughts, of words, deeds, and then, because if you are, then you will not be obscured by this life's issues. People are so dedicated for this life, they don't care about next life. They don't care whether there was a past, and they don't even care if there is a future. But with this, they go and do anything because they're obscured by this life's. A person who is only thinking for this life's benefit, they have the obscuration of this life. And the obscuration of this life has to do with the habits and the subtle one, afflictions. You can't remove the subtle obscurations of afflictions unless you can identify your habitual obscuration of your propensities, your traits. You've got to recognize your traits. Pakcha in Tibetan, the deeply latent propensities. You don't have to be permanently with that latencies. People think that's in the gene or something. No, they are formed and they can be reformed. We don't have to be. So when we are not able to change our propensities, then we have the obscuration of karmic habits. The stronger the afflictive obscuration, that much stronger the habitual obscuration, that much harder to remove the life obscurations. So we need to be armed with a broom to sweep those three obscurations, recognizing each of them, and then not let them get in the way of your Dharma. That is the teaching Dharma. Teaching Dharma that you are always taught. That's the wheel of the Dharma that we're supposed to be riding all the time. We never should be not on the wheel of Dharma. Wheel of Dharma is supposed to be turning all the time, not only when you're listening, but always remembering the teachings. The more you remember, that much it revalidates. And then it sweeps those three obscurations. Okay, so that is the teaching Dharma, yeah? Teaching Dharma. Now the teaching Dharma itself is now classified into two, the Vachana, Buddha Vachana and the Shastra. Buddha Vachana is we have the two collection of texts called Kangyur and Tengyur. Kangyur is the translation of Buddha Vachanas. Those are teachings of the Buddha. Tengyur are the commentaries by other teachers like Nagarjuna and others. So there are two teaching Dharma, Buddha Vachana Dharma and Shastra Dharma. Shastra is the commentarial teachings, and Vachana is the words of the Buddha. The words of Buddha that are either spoken through by his words, mouth, or those he's endorsed by him, or they're blessed by him, influenced by him. So there are three types. Though that's and these two. Of these two, all of the Buddha's teachings, teaching Dharma we were talking about, is comprised. This is two, Vachana and Shastra. Vachana in Tibetan we call ka, because lots of Tibetan lineage are formed under this word ka, Kadampa, Kagyupa, and all these ka. So the ka is the holy command. It's like a command of the Buddha. Sanskrit is Vachana. Vachana means the voice of the Buddha, the thought of the Buddha. Either he spoke or he made other people to speak, whatever it is, those are the command of the Buddha. And then Tencha is the Shastra. This, of course, both of these words will be further elucidated in the following reading. Because of the depth and the depth of the teachings of the Buddha, who's not tailoring it only for the audience that is there who are in front of him. He's tailoring this one word spoken to all sentient beings who have different levels of intelligence, predisposition. He's intended for all would be candidates to understand it. So therefore, the Shastras are the commentarial masters who explain with the Subhashit. Subhashit means well-spoken commentaries, who fathoms the Buddha's thought and is able to decode the meanings according to different people of different levels of intelligence. And so, therefore, when we say Buddha Shasana, Buddha means Buddha. Shasana is what he taught, Buddha's doctrine. So people call Buddha's doctrine. Shasana is the actual doctrine that he taught, and what he taught has commentaries. And so, therefore, because of the existence of Buddha Shasana, that made many of the commentators to exist. And because of the commentators made the teachings much more clearer to beginners and others who are not so so savvy to understand. They need many analogies and stories and avadanas and parables are used in order to teach those things. Therefore, teaching has extended. The Buddha Shasana has continued, not just for the first century or first generation, but since then it has grown from strength to strength, and it has remained this long. And this prolongation of the Buddha Shasana is the history. History is the story of how much this teaching is loved and revered and honored, and people try to practice. People try to learn. People try to study. So of these two, we will first discuss the meaning of word ka. So I will start using technical terms like Tibetan in these teachings because it's much safer for me. So this word ka has three, The definition of what ka means, and the etymology of what ka means, and the distinctions, what types of distinctions of ka. Yeah. The first is the definition of the ka. Ka means, ka usually means the command. Yeah? It's subject matter is commanded upon, and it has a concordant meaning when the command is made and makes sense to people. That is the command of the Buddha. And that what is the definition of ka? It makes people feel delighted. As soon as they hear the ka or command, they feel delighted, and then confusion, ignorance become delighted. Means no longer any darkness is left. It becomes light. Yeah. Otherwise, there's a lot of dense and tense situations. Say you have some sadness about loss of your mom or something, but then Buddha says that death is universal and things like that. Then we become, wow, gosh. And then instead of developing attachment and sadness to ourselves, we come to know how that is the case. That has been like that all along. But yet we didn't know it was. We thought it was only me. So it just makes people delighted by having heard the teachings. So teaching teaches us from staying stupid and angry or sad or hurt or wronged. Teaching just makes us right. Teaching makes us to let go. Yeah, so that's the ka. Ka commands you. God teaches you. It's constantly teaching us, not just when you heard, but when you really heard the teaching of the Dharma, you will attend a new hearing. The hearing loop isn't additional. Hearing loop is another thing in this modern age. You will get a new hearing. The meaning is the words are so proper, and meaning is so perfect. The word is perfect. The meaning is perfect. When you apply it, even more perfect. There's no sign of degenerating the value of the Dharma. First is just getting to know the words and the meaning. Then when you fathom it, the benefit it showers you is you're covered in jewels, pearl all over you. They call pearl of wisdom. When does it pearl of wisdom? Because the subject matter is meaningful, and relevant and concordant with the relevance, with everything. And it has a function. If the meaning and theory is meaningful to your intellectual mind, wait until you apply it, even more meaningful. The function of it that it has not only relevance, benefit to you, but to all sentient beings in the entire three realms. There's no place in time where the teaching will look a bit irrelevant. There's not a time the teaching look irrelevant. Certain cultural practices of Dharma people may be a little bit ethnically bound, a little bit linguistically bound in one group of people, but actual Dharma doesn't need any garb that requires Dharma culture. It is the timeless wisdom, yeah? It is timeless and boundless, and it shows no discrimination. Every sentient beings who heed to this teaching will find soothing to their afflictions, obscuration, to their habitual obscuration, to their life obscuration. And the result is pacification and healing. Result of that, one who have heard the Dharma, one who has understood the Dharma, they feel at peace. They're no longer up in arms. They disarm themselves of hate, of resentment, of poor me, how he wronged me. You don't do that anymore when you really have the Dharma. The result is so pacifying, so beneficial, and so effective that you don't have ordinary words that can do for it too. It's inexpressible. Yeah? It is that panacea that you wish were distributed to everyone who is squandering or languishing in samsara, and due to sorrow, due to their habits, due to their affliction. You can see this is the only suitable avoider, remover of all suffering and sorrow and dukkha in the entire three realms of existence. And you will feel this inner confirmation. This benefit of pacification, then you feel incredible. You think of the Buddha, you think, wow, this is his realization. This is his three uncountable eons of practice and vision that achieve this realization. Then you develop this incredible devotion, love, or I don't know whether you can call it love, but indescribable devotion, lucid faith. We talk about lucid faith. This is lucid faith in how true the Dharma is, because this is what we're talking about is the characteristic. The characteristic. Dharma has this characteristic formation in your mentality, and this is the sage's command. You can see this is the teachings. You can tell it's the teaching. It's because it's so benefiting. It's so benevolent, so effective, so unarguable, so true, so to the point. It hits on the nail, so to speak, and you have no resistance to it. There's no comparable wisdom to it. This is captured in the Uttara Tantra, these meanings which I've just explained. So that's the definition of the Dharma, Buddha, the word, Vachana, Buddha Vachana, Ka, Second is the etymology. The etymology, the Sanskrit etymology of Buddha Vachana is called Subhashita. Subhashita. Subhashita means well-spoken. Well-spoken, because word Su has 5 meanings. Su. But one that will do, instead of explaining all 5, the word Su means good or well. Well-spoken, good sayings. We say good sayings or elegant sayings, because as anyone who hears the Dharma, it makes their hearing good. It makes them feel that they benefit of hearing. They wish they could listen and hear, don't they? But often they listen to something, but there's nothing much there. There's nothing much, just temporary things. But wait until you hear the Dharma, then it really makes you show to the right way. Bhashita, meaning the Bhashita bit means spoken, Because it's so well spoken, therefore they call thus I've heard. You forget most of the things you heard, don't you? Either some extreme ones, good ones you remember, or extreme bad ones, people. But most of the things you don't even remember. But wait until you hear the Buddha Dharma, The vachana of the Buddha, that is subhashit, that is well spoken and explained, then it makes you good. Once you have heard the Dharma, it makes you a better person than you walked in. How about that? Say if you have sadness or hurt or anger or desire or craving or attachment, all of those things will be dented. And you will go without having the same attachment, sadness, and lamentation or longing or craving. All of these things become unnecessary. The teaching teaches you to see the uselessness of those because you have heard something that is so worthy of listening to. Why we spend so much time in receiving oral transmission? Just sitting there. You may not know all the meanings of the words, but they just sit there, listen to the whole scriptures read. And this tradition exists in Pali tradition. They have sutra chanting. The senior most monk hops on the throne and then chant the sutra in Pali. Nobody understands the meaning. And only half a dozen of the people might know, but the rest of them just know they are good, listening to good. But the tradition of listening carefully, respectfully to the well-spoken Dharma is there because they know how much good it does. It's just like a rain on the parched floor of your local field. It's a drying. It's just almost like about to catch on fire. But when the rain comes, a couple of days later, all the grass grows or flowers. It's like that. People are parched by their selfishness, short-sightedness, anger, craving, desire, and clinging, and all of that. And when they heard the Dharma, that parched ground, soil of their mind becomes saturated by this incredible holy water. And often they use the sprinkling of water also as part of the Buddhist ceremony. The idea of this, the Dharma teaching is so water-like. It waters your parched soil of your mind stream. Subhashit, Because it is so well spoken, it is called vachana. Because it is so well spoken, why it's well spoken? It has 10 reasons why they are well spoken. This explanation is given none other than by Vasubandhu. Why, he says, why is it called well spoken? There are 10 reasons why they're well spoken. He says, but he says that whoever listens to it, they receive it so well. It was received well, they say, isn't it? Why do people receive it well if it wasn't worthy of listening to? It's received very well. It changes people. It empowers. Second is it empowers the person. It's well spoken. It is received well by people. It empowers the person. Previously, maybe they don't have courage to forgive or let go or whatever. Now it empowers them to let go. And now it makes them to engage. Previously, they were not wanting to engage. They were sitting on the fence, Now they engages into the act of tolerance or act of compassion or letting go or acceptance. They are now engaging to do that. Fourth is they possess. Not because they did those 3, that they already now possess the Dharma. They get it. They got it. Basically, Rabdu Dempa, they have got it. They got the Dharma. Because it's well spoken, they got it. They didn't miss it. It didn't miss them. It didn't go somewhere over their head. It went straight into their heart. And fifth one is, it enables them to reclassify. It enables them to take things into parts and classify their problems and see the lack of independently truly existing. Because it declassifies everything. It doesn't concoct one thing as truly existing. It makes them to discriminate everything, and therefore everything is discriminated. And that Dharma becomes his or her support. Now they become supported something within. They become supported by it. And they become, they become listeners. Now they listen deeper than previously. They did. They have a deep listening capacity after they listen to the Dharma. And they impute themselves as dharmic person that you now have become. You almost can impute yourself as one who has been heard, as now you impute yourself as one who's heard the Dharma. And the next point is, it's very timely. They say, when they heard it, they feel it so timely. They don't say, I wish I heard this in the past, but right now I don't need it. They don't say that. Whenever they heard it, they say, so timely shower. And they find it so timely. It's a timeliness of well-spokenness. And the 10th quality is, it completely guides you. It becomes your guide. Because it is spoken by the Buddha, the fully enlightened one, all of the sentient beings now it receives them very well. Receive them very well. They don't doubt. Is they reliable? Is it really true? You think, what is the review of people? How many people put a positive review? They don't do that. They know wholeheartedly. They accept because it's taught by the Buddha. They can feel how true the Dharma is. And because of that, it just completely overwhelmingly changes you, and because of that, there's an amazing sense of fortitude in the Dharma, and that your mind are incredibly evolving to a level that you never thought was possible, and you feel profound joy and gratitude as a result of that. It makes you well. Well-spoken means if you have heard something well-spoken, you feel delighted by what you heard. So when you heard the Dharma, it delights the crowds. Everybody say, sadhu. In the traditional teaching, sadhu means well done. Not because you're just as observer, come to applaud because your son is sitting on an exam or something like that. It just becomes, it just felt so all-roundedly so relevant, so meaningful, so truthful. And such Buddha Vachana is said to have 60 melodies. They're so musical. 60 melodies, 60 qualities. The mental aptitude of sentient beings become made very pliant. The first is why it's musically, what are the attributes? It makes people's mind that's really rigid or stiff become very pliant. After hearing the Dharma, they become very pliant. And as a result of that, the Dharma is so softening. It just softens the people. It softens the people, and it makes them to have some joy and bliss that previously was very foreign to them. They become the bliss and joy become now tangible thing to them because they are able to enjoy. The softness of the mind, for instance. The Dharma just tames the person. And it's mind-pleasing. It's so pleasant. Dharma is so pleasant. It's so meaningful. The meaning is so relevant. Because the meaning is so purposeful, it is so attractive. So attractive, It's the melody, we're talking melody here. There's a melody is one. The melody is now, these qualities are broken down. And it is so attractive as a what do we call it? It rhymes well to their heart, so to speak. And they feel like dancing because they just feel so appropriate to pay attention to. And it has more subsequent realizations. It's just music. When you remember the tune later, you feel happy, don't you? Likewise, when you remember the Dharma later, the melody is always makes you to review. You can reveal, you can renew you can repeat your happiness of the Dharma. Yeah, it says post-attainment. They go post-attainment, not just attainment for the now. Like say, if you did something sensorially, you just feel good. But after that, there's nothing, You still have to get it again. You have to go there or see it or taste it or touch it. But Dharma, it's you can repeat it. You are relishing the Dharma. Yeah, that melody. You can just play back, basically. you can play it back without rewinding. You can play it back. This is the melody I'm talking about. Yeah, it's immaculate because it purifies all the taints of obscuration, of afflictions and life and habits. They become so thing of the past. Now they are replaced by the immaculate. Your afflictions and replaced by wisdom. Your negative habits are replaced by positive habits. These life's concerns become secondary. You're more concerned about other sentient beings, future lives. See, it's immaculate. See, immaculate melody. And it's extremely vivid and lucid. The words, the meaning, what you hear, what you think is so vivid, so obvious. So obvious, there's not a single one in the room can't be affected by that music. You can see everybody is off the chair, or so to speak. That's the kind of Dharma. It destroys all the wrong views that you previously used to have. You feel almost internally ashamed that you've been holding these views up till now. You feel so self-exposed by the music of the Dharma that you gotta get rid of that terrible thing that you've been wearing. All your wrong views look so tattered and so useless, so pathetic. They just drop. They all dropped away. They become deafened by the melody of the Dharma. It makes you feel you could never not listen it again to the Dharma. It's the melody. And, like some people like some shows, they've been there 30 times, they're going for the second time, or they were going for the first time, like that. It's countless times you can go, and it's tireless. You don't lose your interest. It has a definitive gift to you. The music, the melody. And you become indomitable by whatever wrongdoings people perform. They do not dominate you because you're so well shielded by the refuge. Now you have true refuge. Not harmed by other people, by yourself not exposing to the harmful reactions and overreaction by you. You're mostly harmed by your own overreaction, remember? There was others just instigated briefly, but you did it ever since then, you are harmed. Now, you are indomitable from doing that. You will not do it. You just don't know how this melody helps you. There's no other that is harming you. It's except your stubbornness. Now that stubbornness has been destroyed, and so you have become indomitable. That's the melody. It is so so pleasant, soothing to the hearing, to your life. It delights you. Nothing can dampen you with sorrow when you look at the Dharma. You delight. You are truly enjoying the real melody of the Dharma. And it subdues you. All your craving, attachment, desire, poor me, all these things become naturally subdued. And that's the melody. It has an incredible effect on you that it antidotally removes your gross sufferings and it subdues your characters. And it smoothens your all rough habits, physical, verbal, and mental habits, because it brings you in line on the path of the Dharma. Therefore, you will no longer appear rough, physically, verbally, and mentally. Even if you do, you're slowly, tuning them down. You will see that. You have no doubt about the efficacy of the Dharma. Now you have truly faith in the Dharma. If you have this Dharma, have you heard the melody of Dharma? You don't need other people to play music. You don't have to be delighted by a person's habits or person's performance that makes you approve them or whatever. You don't have. You have the Dharma. And when you have the melody of Dharma, there isn't anyone who needs to impress you. That's very good, isn't it? You cannot be disappointed, that's the whole thing. You cannot be disappointed by sentient beings because you are shielded by Dharma, and with which you will now radiate those qualities. So you are shown how to respond to them appropriately because you have the actual Dharma. And you are subdued. Vinaya means you are subdued internally. You are taught by the teaching always as the Buddha was in you to subdue you to walk towards the three vehicles: Sarvakayana, Pratyekabuddhayana, and Bodhisattvayana. You are always shown to go towards that three-yana path. And because of your hearing of the Dharma, the melody of Dharma is so good, you are indestructible. Because you're so focused in listening to the tune of the melody of the Dharma that is so effective remedy to your distractedness otherwise. And because it generates great taste of meditative concentration, even your bodily sufferings become somewhat, lessened. You're no longer worrying about body as much as it usually warrants. Your mind's getting more soothed, and this melody that soothes the mind and your meditative concentration, almost relegates the concern that you have of your corporal body. See, that's the melody. That's the melody that doesn't make you too needing to always worry about body. And you are satisfied by the insightness of the Dharma, that you can see the insight of the Dharma, the wisdom of Dharma. You're delighted repeatedly, not just when you heard it first, not even when you read it. Every time you reflect and sit somewhere and think about it, it just completely enchants you and delights you. That's the melody. It satisfies you like no things. You don't say, I love this, I hate this, over small things, mundane, material things anymore. You're not so neediness to love this and hate that, all of that. You're no longer someone who has to express those. I love this, I hate this. Always worried about weather, talking about all this basic. Your mind has an incredible attunement. It is really receiving in the melody of the Dharma. You are actually tuning to the melody of Dharma. And you don't show any sign of just doubt or fear or anxiety, because all your doubts have been severed by the sharpness of the wisdom of the discernment of the Dharma. That's the melody. It just cuts through all noise. There's that beautiful music, how true the Dharma is. It gives you physical pleasure and mental bliss, for you are no longer resorting to the wrong views and wrong ways. That is the melody, that your physical senses become blissed, pleasure, and your mind become joyful. Not without resorting to some things to eat or things to touch or things to watch or listen. This is the melody of the Dharma. This is the radiance of the Dharma. This is the refuge of the Dharma. We try to visualize them coming from the Buddha, usually in Vajrayana meditation, as they're dissolving your problem. But if you really fathom the Dharma, you can meditate on these qualities of the Buddha Vajana alone. And you could sit there and experience these at all times. You don't resort to sorrow at all, because you don't have any regrets or guilt. That is all part of the doubt. That is all part of the wrong view. Now you have no wrong view. The melody has completely destroyed the wrong views. And because your perfection of this Dharma melody comes from your listening to means pay heed to the teachings. Listening to means that you're listening right now, but paying heed to means always you're thinking, paying attention to the Dharma. Because of your reliance, you are really on the vehicle. Now you're really on the vehicle. Stay on the vehicle, they call it. Because you're in the vehicle when you're thinking, you know the melody. The melody of Dharma is never leaving. Resonance of it is not leaving from your domain of consciousness. Yeah, that is the melody. Recollecting the Dharma, yeah. Your mind is so cognizant. It knows what to pay attention to. It is not looking for anything too interesting to entertain the afternoon or tomorrow or weekend. It is never craving anything like that. It is always relishing this ever truthful wisdom and insight and delight that actually puts you into some kind of meditative absorption. Because of that, your mind is so clear. Your bodily senses are very, very sharp. It is no longer craving gross sensory indulgences. If they are there, they are there. But you're not disappointed if they are lacquer, or if there are changes, if they don't last. Even if they appear, you're not attached to them, you're not craving them. And if they disappear, it doesn't cause sorrow to you, because you're completely in tune. You're in the station of listening to the 60 melodies of the Dharma. It's your thought is always with you to tune into that knowledge, that which you pay attention and listen to in the first place. Because of that, you are constantly cognizant of that melodious knowledge of the wisdom. the teachers, the luminaries, the Dharma masters, who unbroken lineage have continued to show this to him, to his disciple, him. By showing this unbroken lineage makes you so obvious why they did what they did. Because of that, you feel so indebted to each and every one of them. That's the melody of gratitude, incredible gratitude. Because you are so much a recipient of this meaningful realization, your joy is overwhelmingly there. The melody of joy is overwhelmingly present. It's pouring and pouring, you're basically gushing it out, so to speak. Because of that, you almost know everything that the Dharma teaches is correct. So you're not far from being omniscient because you know. Because of that, the inconceivable Dharma teachings the Buddha gave, you know they're all accurate. You don't have any room, you're not indulging in any more doubts, as you're too sharp that you can find some loopholes. You're not wasting your time in that. Because of that, you are omniscient about the truthfulness of the wonderful melody of Dharma. Is so appropriate to pay attention to. And this, because of this, all things are validated. It does not contradict to the reality of valid cognition. And it is so relevant. There's not a single sentient being to whom the teaching will not be relevant, but will be relevant, will be efficaciously treated and healed, and so you know the melodiness of that. Why it's so appropriate is that it will suit to every sentient beings, depending what different karmic and afflictive culture, background, obscuration they may have. They will all feel greatly benefited by it. This melody of the Dharma is like the lion's roar, because lion's roar is considered to be most broad, most recognizable, most strong. Like it frightens all other beasts. All the wrong view holders are frightened of this melody. Completely quietens. Everything become noise pollution, become completely pacified by the lion roar of the Dharma's melody. Because of the contents of the speech of the Buddha, not only is melodious, but it is so wide, so overwhelmingly universal. It is like the grunting of the elephant. Called grunting? Elephant grunting? Elephant, I don't know. Lions roar, elephants grunting. Because it is so deep and profound, it is melodious like that of dragon roaring. Thunder, they call thunder. Thunder, like thunder, you know. And because it is worthy of remembering and retaining, it is the sound of the king of the Nagas. King of the Nagas.
Elephant trumpets.
Trumpets, yeah, trumpeting of elephant. Yeah. Because the melody, is so pleasant to anyone who listens to, it is like the music of the Gandharvas. Gandharvas are celestial musicians. Even celestial musicians cannot do better than that. And because it's so sharp and frightening to the wrong view holders, it is the sound of the Kalapinka bird. Kalapinka bird. I don't know what English name is. Kalapinka is Sanskrit. Kalapinka bird. Maybe nightingale. because it is so wide, so heard everywhere, furthest corner also can hear it, because it is so well heard and everywhere, it is like comparable to the sound of the Brahma, and the Brahma sound is very broad, everybody knows about it. Because it proceeds, yeah, everything else, Dharma precedes everything else, meaning it is more predominant than anything else. It is like the thoroughbred horse that reaches ahead of everyone. So Dharma is well and truly ahead of everything, ahead of everything.
Kalavinka is a sparrow or an Indian cuckoo.
Cuckoo, yeah, maybe cuckoo. Sparrow doesn't make it nice. Cuckoo is well known, huh? Cuckoo bird. What's a nightingale? I think a nightingale sounds like more of a music, more of a good singer. Any ornithologists here? All the chirpings and So therefore, the melody we are referring to is expression of the sound. The expression of sound means it communicates to those who listen to the expression. So this means when we say it's sound, it makes people to understand communication. We call linguistic is meaning that mode of communicating what you want to say to the other. So it communicates. And when we say melody, because melody meaning that it shows you the deep meaning, and it actually is very pleasant to the ear, and it makes you to see the point. It makes you see the meaning. When we say renown, the word renown, because that's whatever is spoken about, it announces the qualities that you previously didn't know. So the Dharma announces through its melody the goodness of the teachings. And it is like the divine melody. People who are enjoying something, usually they're playing music. And during that, they forget all the sorrows, don't they? Like that, when you listen to the Dharma, not just the sound of them, when you pay attention to the Dharma, all your sorrow becomes quashed. Yeah, so that's why the sound of the Dharma, the melody of Dharma, is used because it will silence all your other childish sorrows and anger, anguish. Because it is victorious from all the demons and all the untoward things, it is like the divine drum. Because when the divine drum is beaten, all the sound is silenced, and its messages of what's in the beating of the drum is announced. Because Dharma is worthy of praise, unlike the normal praise, worldly praise, people become bloated. People become puffed up. When the Dharma is praised, everybody becomes humbled. It makes everyone become humbled. So in this way, the teachings of the Dharma, whoever gets to hear this, it changes people to enter the path, and it is not corrupted information. The words of the Buddha is meaningful. It's always good. It's worthy of remembering, worthy of quoting. Even ordinary people who speak about it become worthy of paying attention to, because the subject matter is Dharma. It becomes relevant to all candidate sentient being's aptitude. Because of that, it is incomplete. Because of that, it is complete. It is not some incomplete things that is relevant to some, not so relevant. It becomes relevant to everyone. Because it does not seek, it doesn't need any particular rewards or respect to the Dharma. It is not a requirement for the Dharma to be respected. It naturally becomes respected. Because of that, it never is kind of shy or timid. Nobody becomes shy or timid when they speak of Dharma. It makes them all feel really, really confident, because the teaching itself so reliable that it doesn't make you feel shy or timid, because the subject lifts ordinary person to the level that they never thought was possible. And there's never a moment the Dharma saddens you. So therefore, the Dharma completely lifts your spirit. Because when you know the Dharma, because it's inner science, it makes you to know all the outer science. Because of that, your knowledge is all-rounded. All-rounded. And because it is beneficial, relevant, and exact to all sentient beings, it is always proper. There is no time that it doesn't have its relevance, so it is continuous. It is continuously relevant. It is consistently there. It's consistently relevant. Because it's applicable to every situation, it does not lose its radiance. There is no time that it is irrelevant. Whenever you listen and when you ever have the realization, it connects you with something, and that makes you feel so appropriate of the teaching, because it makes all your broken things it makes everything into places. It places everything in places, and it becomes very, very reliable. It is not haphazard. Dharma is very, 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 very relevant, very, very consistent. There is not a near and far sentient beings to your mind. When you understand Dharma, this is to be shown or shared with all people. Because of that, Dharma is unobstructable. These 60 qualities of the melodies are explained in the 20,000 verse literature of the perfection of wisdom. So, because our author is so well read, he's not listing them, but he says these 60 qualities, 60 melodies are all taught in the 20,000 verse Prajnaparamita literature. And likewise, he says there are many other texts like the Bodhisattva Bhumi and the commentary on the 100,000 verses and the Mahayana Sutra Alankara, as well as Vakya Sutra by Vasubandhu. So he says all of these are the literature from which he has been sourcing this information. So these 64 melodies of the Dharma, 64 melodies of Dharma, is inconceivable qualities. It pacifies your craving, your desire, because it says that in order to pacify your desire, the Vinaya, all the teaching, 21,000 discourses to pacify your desire, taught in the Vinaya, and then to pacify 21,000 of hatred and ignorance are all taught in each of the sutra and Abhidharma Pitakas. In the Mahayana Sutra Ankala, it talks about 60 inconceivable qualities that are mentioned about Dharma, how it pacifies all your 60 erroneous sorrows, stemming from the 3 root afflictions. Both as per Arya Asanga and Vimukti Sena and Vasubandhu, all of their literatures agrees with this explanation of the 64 melodies. And so, please, he says, I recommend all to consult their literature. So here, Buton says that this explanation of the types of the Buddha Vachana, 60 melodies of Buddha Vachana, that he explained, that he has spoken about, has relied on these very, very reputable sources. That's the etymology and description of the 60 melodies. Third is the classification of the Dharma. This is the 6: time, subject, expression, antidote, candidates or trainees, and the possessive contributions. So of these, the first one is the time. First time when the Buddha spoke on the Dharma is said to be when he turned the wheel of Dharma, explaining the Four Noble Truths. And the second, turning. This is talking about when did the Buddha teach these things. So he classifies them into 3. Yeah, first turning, second turning, third turning. This I don't know. This is a convention, but of course there was never a time that Buddha was not turning. But anyway, they classify the first turning of the wheel of Dharma as 4 Noble Truths. Second turning of the wheel of Dharma is that the turning the wheel of Dharma showing how things lack any independent inherent characteristics, so mainly talking emptiness of things. And the third, final turning of Dharma is the ultimate teachings of the turning of the wheel of Dharma. These are mentioned in the Sandhina Mochana Sutra, is probably the first sutra in which classifies the teachings, time of the Buddhas, which first he says there is suffering, there is origin, there is a path, there is a cessation. He says there is. So the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, there is. Secondly, there isn't. So that's how they classify. Anyway, so that's the time. The second is subject matter. The subject matter is the teachings that are taught by the Buddha is the true truths. They rely on true truths. True truths are conventional truth and the ultimate truth. The conventional truth, sometimes translated as relative, is a deceptive truth, because the deceptive truth do not quite stand when it's scrutinized by rationality. It only appears to the ordinary when they don't examine, but when examined, the relative truth is only relative to it, but ultimately it doesn't stand. So therefore, the relative truth is what we call interpreted meaning. Then the ultimate truth is the more you scrutinize and rationalize and examine with logic, the more it becomes agreeable to the meaning. And there's one Mahayana Sutra called the Inexhaustible Intelligence Sutra, and it says that what is taught by the Buddha as a relative truth is only interpretive meaning. It's only relative, interpretive meaning. Interpretive is relevant to you from your point of view, he from his point of view, they from their point of view. So that's the relative truth. It's a truth only relative to you, but not to the other. Sweet is sweet to you because you have the sweet tooth, but others, for them, is not. So it's only relative truth in that sense. And they're relative to each other, but deceptive truth in reality, because it deceives as if it is true to you, but to the other is not. So the relative truth is deceptive truth. Therefore, it's got interpretive meaning. Interpretive meaning, people interpret differently, so they have a different take of the same thing. Whereas the ultimate truth, absolute truth, is the definitive truth, because it shows the ultimate meaning. So all the sutras are on the relative level, is taught on the relative level, with the intention to show the ultimate meaning to those who have the apt to understand it. You don't say ultimate truth, teach ultimate truth at the beginning. Like say, if Buddha didn't teach on the first journey of the wheel of Dharma, there is no suffering, there is no origin, and there is no path, there is no cessation. He didn't say that, He said there is this, there is this, there is this. So that relative truth is taught on a conventional level, because without relying on the conventional level, there is no ultimate truth can be realized. So this is what we're talking about. The subject matter of the teaching is teaching true truths. Yeah? The third is the expression. Expression are 12. They're usually called, there are 12 expressions. So how did the Buddha teach the subject matter of relative and ultimate truth? He used 12 branches of the teachings. So these 12 branches are explained in the teachings, such as on the commentary on the 8,000 verses. Firstly, it says the sutra. Sutra is one. Sutra means discourse. And then second is yang, is melody. Third is prophecy. Fourth is verses. And the sixth and next one is what you call udana. Udana means purposeful expressions. And another is prologue. Other is avadana, which is avadana is like a hagiographies, past life stories. And jataka. Jataka is past life stories of Buddha, and then very elaborate teachings and wondrous stories. So anyway, there are these 12. So if of these 12, I will go through one by one. The first one is sutra. The sutra is referred to, sutra is by explaining, but what is to be explained is being stretched. Sutra means stretch, because sut means thread. Thread is made by stretching the wool, the yarn, isn't it? You don't have the thread like that by itself. It just came from some material, cotton or wool, by stretching. Likewise, the discourses are always stretching. Some words of threads of words, then it stretches the stories, and then it builds in some stories in it, and then it explains. So sutra means that which has been stretched. Because it has been stretched, the word sutta also means to stretch. Because then you can make the string from the wool. It can reach from there to here, for instance. The wool itself can't reach if you pull. So likewise, sutra is a discourse. Slowly it's feeding the information, explaining some stories, analogies, types, and cause, the antithesis, the methods, and the purpose, and so on. When they explain things like that, then they stretch the threads. So sutra comes from the word sut, which means thread. Yeah, thread of knowledge. Thread of knowledge have been spun, if you like, to create a discourse. you read a discourse, because a discourse has a long, story, maybe 10 pages, maybe 2 pages, maybe half a paragraph, half a page, if every word has to be connected with one word before, and according to the language of the culture, and the meaning, the subject, the verb, the object, and that which qualified to what, and who, where, when, what for, all of these things has to be put in this discourse, yeah? So, thus I've heard, Buddha was such and such place, he was among this many people, and at such a moment, such and such arose, and then asked this question, and so it talks about the story. It's just always a story, yeah? So it's stretched, the string of words has been stretched to make the meaning. So word sutra. Yeah. In the Abhidharma Sammuccaya, it says the benefit of sutra is 10 because it was spoken by the Tathagata, and then people will explain who Tathagata is, where was he, who asked what, and what for did the Buddha explain these things, and how come that as a result of that story, that dialogue, what happened to the person who came, who's the main kind of character in the story. And then in doing so, the whole story teaching comes very clearly. Teaching comes out of that. And then the presentation, the teaching is present in contact with someone's life story, how the teaching made sense to their life. And it says, sutra is made easy to explain, easy to remember, because you have to remember the people, the name, time, and place, and what happened, and why it was, what the Buddha said, and how it changed. So everybody remembers characters, places, times, and what they call 5 characters. 5 characters. If the 5 characters are there, who, when, where, what, how, this is the 5 characters. Who is the teacher? Who's the disciple? When was the time? What prompted the story? How did that story unfold? So these people is easy to explain, easy to remember, and people can quickly comprehend the teaching, the sutra. So, because sutra makes people to quickly realize the ultimate meaning, and they get to know the Buddha by knowing who the Buddha is, and they know the Dharma, what the Dharma is. They first look at Dharma as things, or objects, or some books, but then they realize Dharma is that transforms, which transforms them, their mental constitution, from this thought to that, this view to this. And so it restores their mind. Dharma is that which restores the sick in you, illness in you. Then they remember the Dharma, and then they value the Sangha, because Sangha is the one who treats the patient, and the Dharma, medicine is the Dharma that the Buddha gave. So the sutra is there. The Buddha is there. Sangha is there, the patient is there, the medicine comes out, and treatment gets treated. So everybody is the hospital. Everybody is the hospital with the big wheel of Dharma, the logo, coming into there, and they all know the Dharma and they become well. They become well. And that's the sutra. That's the discourse. It makes everybody feel, wow, he did it. The nurse become happy, the cleaner gets happy, the orderly become happy, the doctor become happy, the relatives become happy, and then they all gain faith in the Dharma. Because they see the Dharma, they can see the truth in the Dharma, the relevance of Dharma, it touches them, it changed them. They say, it touched me, yeah. Dharma soothes the skin and heals the wound. Because of that, the storyline, the sutra is always story, It's the parables. Kisa Gotami, Ajanta Satru, or place you can place like Saravasti, or Vaishali, or Varanasi, or Kushinagar, or Bodh Gaya, or Kosambi. Always talks about places. And next time you go to India, you can see, wow, this is the place that happened. That was the such people who play that role. And all of this comes together. The story shows how it touches life of Kisa Gotami and the like, and then that touches the Kisa Gotami in you. Then that's the discourse. That's the sutra. That's the discourse. All your life stories, all your life sufferings become singed by these teachings, by the teaching. Okay, so that's the first. Second is the melody. They call melody. Melody is because the sutra has a melody. The melody we were talking before. Sutra has a melody, a resonance, and whether it's the center or in the circumference. Some quotations are there. One verses are quoted, and the quotation augments the story. The story and quotation of the question, quotation of the answer, and the response by the crowds or onlookers. All of these things makes people to see. They remember the particular verses. Most Buddhist scholars know. That verse was spoken to him or her on that occasion. Some these days they say from the sutra it says that, but scholars remember not only that sutra, but on what purpose and on what occasion, who spoke it, and so on. So later on, they all compiled together like Avadana, like the Udana Varga or Dhammapada. Dhammapada got over so many hundreds of verses, but all of these are not spoken at one session by the Buddha. They were spoken in different places, and their disciples compiled all them together, all the quotations. They're so beautiful to compile, and so therefore, what they call it becomes so melodious compilation of the whatever that was quoted, And the third one is the prophecy. Prophecy. So in the prophecies there are lots of sutras and teachings which talks about, such as the Sadharma Pundarika, the White Lotus Sutra, Lankavatara Sutra, Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, meeting between Father and Son Sutra, and the Sutra of dispelling the regret of Ajatasattu, Sutra of and countless, all of them, in which they say, such and such was there, such and such was this in the previous life, you will be born there, such and such a name. Like the name of the Nagarjuna is mentioned in Lankavatara Sutra. He says it's 400 years later, and such name by the name would Naga, and will come, and he will greatly propagate the Dharma and the Mahayana literatures in particular. So there are all the prophecies. There is even names of the many Tibetan teachers are mentioned in many sutras. So they are all, and of course many people say, that's about him, that's about him. Some may be missing it because they don't know, but they have often verified those prophecies. So the prophecies, like the Sadharma Pundarika. Then this called definitive meaning. So called definitive meaning. This is the fourth one, I think. That there are very clear clarification of showing meaningfully what the thing is, the teachings. Then there are verses. The verses are what we call padas. Padas means the teachings are always in verses. But most of the teachings are in verses, others in proses. But the verses are easier to remember. They rhyme. They usually have amazing way to people remember the verses. But they cannot remember the whole prose, for instance. Prose is too long, but the verses are very easy to remember. They rhyme, and they usually go in pairs. They're usually in 6 syllables or 7 syllables or 9 syllables, and so the teachings are some in verses, such as Gelon din tumbat never shishing sakbase, O bhikkhus, O bhikkhus, I have shown this to you, because you have heard it, you will be pacified and be devoid of contaminations. That's a 2-line. Then 3 lines. Dinne dakam semjem. Here neither is I nor is sentient being. Sokyan yubam near nor is there life. Chunde yudan cheleju. All things have come from causes. Meaning, when it says there is no self, no sentient being, no life, it means there is no self or no sentient being, no this independently, inherently. But all these phenomena, such as self and phenomena and things and events, have causes, because this is like three line verse. Then there are 4-line verses, 4 lines verses, 4 line. Chuna, like say, chuna tamji gyule, yeah, all phenomena have come from causes. Buddha has taught not only the cause, but also how to uncause the cause. The Buddha also taught there's a method of uncausing the cause. And then there are also 5-line, 6-line verses. So then next is Udana Varga. Udana Varga, Udana Varga, one whole collection, Udana Varga, or they call in most other Buddhist countries Dhammapada. Like Dhammapada is regarded as a Udana Varga. Udana Varga means purposeful expression. You will see all the chapters in the Dhammapada are purposeful expressions, all compiled together. They're all for the same. If they're talking about full, they talk about full. They're talking about wise, they talk about, and so on. So they are called Udana Varga. Of course, in Mahayana has a special text called Udana Varga itself. But Pan-Buddhist is well known as Dhammapada. Dhammapada. They're both Udana Varga, because now Udana means purposive, Varga means collection. Purposive collection of expressions. Purposive expressions. It is not so much, people may say, oh, it is expressed to him or her or that place. It looks like addressed to the person or place or thing, but no, it was spoken in order to the continuity or longevity of the teachings. That is the purpose. Purpose is, it looks like it's talking about full, it's talking about the wise or these, but the purpose is to all have same purpose. All of these different topics are different topics, but purpose is to elongate the teaching's continuity. So the teaching will last long and the expression will remember easy. People can quote on the lips, just like lyrics of the Dharma, lyrics of the song. People remember the singer and the composer. Likewise, if you remember the few 3, 4, 5, half a dozen lines, then you remember from which sutra, which text, and so on, for the sake of continuity of the Dharma. That's the main purpose, Because anyone who hears it, it delights them. And another is called a prologue. Prologue is, it talks about who was the main figure, where was it happened, how did it prompt it, and what was the issue, and then what is the outcome. So these are the prologue, which actually gives these five, who, what, where, when, how. Sometimes those prologues are discussed at the beginning of the discussed sutra. So that's why sometimes, like in Heart Sutra, Chinese and Japanese Heart Sutra, they remove the prologue of the Heart Sutra. They don't say, thus I've heard. They don't say where, who, what, and that. They go straight away Avalokiteshvara and Shariputta's conversation at the very beginning. They don't tell the actual story. So sometimes people have reason to do that because the main body of the teaching is that part. But not knowing the prologue will actually make you feel completely headless, in a headless body. What is a headless body? It's a dead body, You need to preserve the story of the teachings, where, who, what, and so on. Because the history is all about the prologue. In the prologue, it talks about who, where, what, when, what happened, chronologically telling and the people and events and places and times, and then what happened. You can't say then what it is, in which there is no one, where, place, time, and cause are not manifested. Then the very thing doesn't become so easy to tell the story. So that's what we call prologue, nidana. Maybe they made the subject maybe the demerits of stealing, saying someone is born so poverty-stricken, and they ask why people are like this, and that might be the main topic Buddha's talking, but the prologue is prompted by quite another thing, and so then Buddha's teaching is showing how to correct the stealing or thieving behavior of taking what is not given in one's life, how that is a cause of suffering and was a cause of suffering and will be cause of suffering. And in order to teach that, then the kind of the very prologue, very kind of a subject that introduced at the very beginning, like an introduction to the topic, maybe that. And then it is elaborated in the main sutra itself. Then there's Avadana. The Avadana is full of examples, analogies. It's always mixing the story and the meaning and its relevance. Avadana. Avadana often refers to Avadana means expression of realizations. Means what was the moral of the story, yeah? Why we have to talk about Kisa Gotami and her child's death and master seed and all of that, You can see the realization, expressions of realization. Death is inevitable. It's universal to anyone. No one can create any medicine to revive the dead. That was the main expressions of realization. But it is not. They say it's a Kisa Gotami story. They become interested in the personnel of the Kisa Gotami. But when you talk about this personal story, people remember. And then they remember the meaning elucidated by what's to do with that, and how did she resolve her sorrow of losing the child by meeting the Buddha, and then the teaching becomes elucidated. So that's why I call Avadana is a realization through expressing the realization they can. What is the morale of the story by telling and listening to that people came to realize. And then next one is history. History, it's like itihas. Itihas meaning what happened, Itihas means this happened, It is Tejung Rigpa in Tibetan, knowledge of what happened. That's knowledge of what happened. All the stories about Gautama Buddha, his past life, and who was, all of that, and the actual biography story of the Shakya kingdom and all the 6 great kings. And then you have a Jataka Mala. Jataka Mala is a bodhisattva's past life, and so on. So we'll stop there. I think our time would not allow me to go further than that. So these are the explaining the 12 great branches of what the Vachana, Buddha Vachanas are, how the Buddha's teachings are expressed through stories, through sutras, through expressions, through savadana, through verses, and so on. So with this we'll conclude here. Thank you, everyone. Let's do the dedication of merits. Om Bade Meher Meve the deva benzanga honez me ale verera beramde ojana badare zenede erenda mahayana jeje Hare mereda heveg me obe begas de leveza Jehoda ayana jeje kareja manje jenyo Azama Dabadare Lava Palove Ode Zamba Aja Dege Ode Mere Mede Selem Bodi Jida Debe Vedena Yedanza Where has been born made angry, freely with the general